Hi there, I'm Sean Osterlink, and this is Overcoming with ACT. Welcome back. I'm here to do part 2 of the values domains activity that I was working on the other day, and then I could feel my voice was getting dry and scratchy, and so I stopped. And I think I talk louder in these videos than maybe I talk in real life, and I can feel that in here in my throat. Anyway, I've got my trusty water here to get through it. So, number 7. This is where I was at. Recreation, fun, and leisure. So, what are the values here? Would be like, what are the kinds of things that you enjoy doing? What are the kinds of things that maybe you'd like to be doing more of with these with the activities you enjoy? What are your hobbies? What do you have fun with? What sports do you want to be involved in more? How do you want to be relaxing more in your life? What would it look like if you were doing more of that? What would it look like if you were making more time for that? Who else might you involve in making more time with that? How would things be different if you were doing more of these things in your life? How could you fit more of this in this busy world? And you don't have to problem solve this and start setting goals just yet. We're just talking about just what are those things that are important to you here, and is this domain, how important is this to you in general, right? Like any of these might be more important or less important in the whole scheme of life. Maybe if you're in a very busy life phase at the moment where having fun and leisure and things like that maybe don't fit in real well, like that, maybe that value just isn't one that you can live out as much right now. Maybe there's more of that distance there, or maybe what you enjoy just really isn't so much in the domain of fun and recreation. Maybe somewhere in these other areas is more where you derive more satisfaction, and the values on the previous videos, or maybe just having fun, treating yourself to a spa day or to a nice treat, or to go into a sports game, whatever. Like maybe those things in general aren't as important to you, and those are less important, or maybe it's just hard to make time for it. But you need to be thinking about, how can I fit in even the small things for my self-care? So that's recreation, fun, leisure. Spirituality. Okay, so this is like, this could be what's and this could go all over the place. So there's like, if you have a more formal religion, then how do you want to be growing in your faith in that? How do you want to be growing as you walk in that religion? As far as that could be spiritual practices like desiring to, it could be more broad, like desiring to be closer to God, right? Something like that, or desiring to be engaged in more spiritual practices of reading a scripture, or engaging in prayer, or involving maybe your family in it, if you have like family to that you want to bring into that, or joining a study group, a Bible study, or something like that, and having some community involvement with your faith, or maybe just learning more about what it is you believe. Maybe it's a value of like, I want to figure out, what do I believe, and what does matter to me in the realm of the existential. Why are we here? Why are there human beings? Why is there an earth? What are we supposed to be doing here with our lives? Do I think there's any reason for what we're doing here with our lives? If there's a God, which religion is getting it right? Does some parts get some of it? Are none of them getting it right? Like what are the answers to these questions? Is there truth? Is there no truth? Right? Do the postmodernists get it right? Does some religion get it right? Right? And so you might dwell on where do you land with these questions, and where do you want to be growing in this? You might just be at the place of, I don't know. Some people are at the place of, I don't know, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. Some people are at the place of like, I think I do know, but this doesn't really feel very important to me right now. Maybe I do think it's important to me right now, and I would like to be doing more in my faith. But I'm really busy and it's hard to do that, and it's just not a priority. And so maybe that's just, it's like the value's there, but I'm very like skewed from that. I feel like it's not what I'm living out, and maybe that's important to me and I want to aim for that more. Maybe it's not so important to me right now, and it's just kind of, maybe the faith has taken the back burner there, right? Number 9, citizenship, environment, community. This pertains to how do you want to be engaged in your community as a citizen? How do you want to be engaged maybe in local, state, or federal politics? Things like that. How do you want to be engaged maybe in activism? How do you want to be engaged with the environment? Is that maybe enjoying the environment, or even be engaged in activism around right, protecting, preserving the environment, or something like that? How do you want to show up in these ways, right? What's important to you in these areas? And there's just be all different ways that could show up, right? How do you want to be as part of this community that we live in? How do you want to be? We're in here in America. Like, what does it mean to you to be an American? How do you want to show up as an American? How do you want to treat your fellow citizens as an American? How do you want to show up as I'm in Indiana, so how do you want to show up as an Indiana, as an Indianan, as a Hoosier? If you call yourself that, like, how do you want to show up at the state level? How do you want to show up at the local community level? How do you want to show up as far as living, if you're in a neighborhood or in an apartment complex? What kind of neighbor do you want to be? How do you want to be as far as you treat the other people that you interact with in your neighborhood or in your local town? Or what kind of things matter to you? How do you want to be engaged as far as what's going on in that town, maybe in policies in that town, or in how you want positive changes to be in that, in your area? And so you might think about, what are the things there that are important to you? And throughout, again, how is it that you want to be? The values is, how do I want to be as a person, as I'm aiming for living out consistently. I don't have to reach a particular goal. It's, how am I living this out? How am I going on the walk, right? If being in, if it's like, if X is important to me, if this thing is important to me, then I'm doing something about that. Even if it's something small, I'm doing something about that thing. And so, anyway, that's that category. I don't want to get bogged down too much in specifics, right? That can be something that you reflect on if you're going to do an activity around this at home. If we're in a therapy session, we would get more into the specifics of delving into what we can pull out of that. So I'm keeping a high level view of these things. Health and well-being, physical well-being, that could of course include mental health as well. Like any form of health. Like, how do you want to be more healthy? How do you want to be treating your body better? How do you want to be treating your mind better? Part of that might involve going to therapy, right? So, right, there could be, like, again, goals and values are different. Goals would be, I want to reach this place. I want to reach this place. I want to reach, like, this. I can bench press this much, or I want to reach this weight, something like this, or I no longer want to experience depression, something like that. Those would be like goals. But the values is like, how do I want to be engaged, even as I'm not there yet, and there's always maybe another place to get to. So being mindful of what does matter to me as far as how I treat my body. How do I want to be treating my body? How do I want to be as far as what the kinds of foods that I'm eating, and how I'm treating the process of eating itself, right? Do I want to be eating healthy things? Do I want to be disciplined in how I'm engaging with food? Or disciplined as far as engaging in exercise, and do these things even matter to me? Do I care about being more healthy? Do I care about taking care of my body? And if I don't, maybe that would be a place for self-reflection of why don't I care about that more, and what's happened in my life that maybe that's not become as important. And of course, there's barriers as far as time and motivation and things like that you can think about. But what would it look like to be more healthy? What would I be doing more of? What would my mindset be like if I was aiming higher, aiming for a more healthy me? What would I be doing different? And what would my mindset be? And then I added this one, finances and money. I thought, well, that seems like kind of a big thing that affects people. Maybe that could be its own category, right? You can think of your own categories, but how do you want to be as far as how you handle finances? How do you want to show up when maybe the stresses of if money stress is a big one for a lot of people. So how do you want to handle the stresses of life that come around things like being underemployed or unhappy with your work, or not making enough money, inadequate finances, having to not being able to afford the things that you want to be able to afford, right? How do you want to show up in those kinds of situations, right? I mean, just coming to my mind of values. Hey, some values words are coming to mind. Like, do you want to be a more patient kind of person? Do you want to be focused on having a sense of just being, I can achieve, I can do this. I want to be the kind of person who maybe is, some of us are more of a spender, some of us are more of a saver. Do I want to lean more into maybe being more flexible with money and more willing to spend and enjoy money? Or do I want to be, do I struggle with spending too much? Do I want to lean into being more of a saver with money and more responsible with the money? Do I want to be more hopeful and just kind of more laid back and less stressed as far as not having money, and kind of have more of a trusting sense that things will be okay? Or maybe that could even lean into faith and leaning on, maybe I'm going to trust God and it's going to be okay, something like that. Do I want to be preparing for retirement, for the future, right? Those might all be positive values around money and finances, right? And those would be in contrast to values that I hit on in the last video. Like, there could certainly be values that would be considered negative values, right? Do I want to be envious of what other people have and resentful of them? Do I want to lean in on being more frustrated about the things I don't have, or being underemployed, right? Those would be probably that would generate more of a negative headspace, right? That would generate more frustration, probably not be good for the mental well-being stuff. But it's a big world of like 8 billion people, so people certainly, you gotta write to your own values wherever they may land. You come into therapy here with me. The values that we're going to be exploring are going to be upward aiming kinds of values. So where else could we go with this? What other values come to mind? What other domains come to mind for you? What kind of values come to mind as you think about these kind of things? How do you want to be growing in your life? What do you want to be aiming more towards pursuing, changing as a person, as how you do things, how you show up? I hope these questions have been helpful. We would delve into this more in detail in therapy, of course. I may make separate videos to get more into the nitty-gritty of more specifics of these kind of things. I just want to hit it more broadly with the kinds of questions you could be asking yourself. So for whoever's watching, whoever comes across this, thank you for your time and showing up here today, and I'll see you next time.